Hello, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're definitely diving into the deep end with a huge splash of truth, facts, evidence, information, and proof. Swim. Say what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen, how we hear, how we speak, how we hear what we're listening to when we speak, how a listener hears what we're saying, if what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding, because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out. Welcome to The Swimming Pool with your host, Travis Bridges.
And a pleasant good evening to you. Here's hoping that your Wednesday is off to a fantastic start. I don't know about you, but mine is. I am your host, Travis Bridges, and this is what we do on a Wednesday night. We come into the studio and we, let's see how do I do this? Oh, there we go. We set it off. One of these days I'm going to have an engineer that's going to do all of this fancy stuff for me. What do I have here? Nothing or anything. Anyway, yeah. Got a good one for you this evening, and I'm really excited about it because I have some great things coming up for me in the next few days. I want to say I've waited all my life for this, but maybe I haven't. Let's see, what do we got here? Well, right. I have a guest that's coming up in just a few minutes, and it's going to be good. Before I go, I've got a promo that I created that I'm going to play, and I'm going to discuss it before I bring my guest on. Then, of course, I'm going to play it again when I take the break, so you're going to have to hear it a couple times. Christine is with me, and Anthony Morrow is also with me. You guys are like my go-tos, and I'm grateful for it. I really appreciate it. It's been a tough week, man. It's tough, you know, to do what I do and then come in and, to a live stream on Wednesday. This is one of the big things that I have going on. Everything else just kind of comes when it comes, whether I get a spot or a gig to go out and play. But this is what I look forward to. Again, it's therapy for me. And I'm hoping that at some point in time, I will leave a legacy, with my concept, talk about talking. You may ask, what is this guy talking about? Let me just try to tell you. I am convinced that there is an answer for every question. There is a solution for every problem. And I really believe in my heart that if we can talk enough, that we can solve most of those problems and get answers to those solutions. But it just doesn't happen. Either because of, I'll be honest, egos. Not everybody can talk to everybody all the time. And so many things just go, unresolved or unsolved. And I'm just convinced that if you talk, you can resolve. And that's why I'm here. SWIM. Say what you mean. It's the acronym. And not everyone is willing to do that. And I have a strong, powerful passion of talking about it. I've got, according to my numbers here, there's 5 people here now. And I don't care if I have a whole bunch of people. Being able to talk about it and put it into the atmosphere is important. Because I was taught, we don't necessarily fight against flesh and blood. But things that, we put into the atmosphere do have power. And if not today, maybe at some point in time, somebody will look back at, my concept and say, okay, the guy is onto something. He may have a small point
SWYM. Swim. Say what you mean. As much as
I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Maybe someone will take a look at, what I'm doing and say, at least maybe the guy is on to something, because I believe I am. Even if I, just talk about it to myself or the few people that either support me or have a belief in what it is that I'm doing. I'm not a counselor, therapist, psychologist, anything like that. I'm just my mother's fifth child, and I've had enough experiences in life to know what it means to reason, and that's why I'm here, hoping that I can bring awareness to how we listen, how we hear, and I'm finding out some very disturbing information about human nature, how powerful thoughts and beliefs, are as it relates to reaching resolution. One of my friends told me some time ago, he said, just because you believe something, it doesn't have to be true. People believe things that are not true all the time. And I thought that was interesting because as it relates to, I don't want to get in trouble. As it relates to some religions. Now, I know this is a tough area, so I'm going to tread lightly. There are some things that some people believe that I find to be tough, but I'm not questioning what someone believes, but I'm just using that as a exaggerated and strong, example. Something doesn't have to be true, and we can be passionate about it. And I think I'll just leave it alone. But as it relates to anything outside of religion, our thoughts about something, it's called a preconceived notion, I guess. If you have a thought about something already, it's going to be hard for you to be convinced. But that's why I'm here, to try to bring awareness to being open to information, to evidence, to explanation, and just being okay with hearing things and people out. If you walk into a room and somebody's hand is in the cookie jar, it's hard to not think that they're the ones who were taking the cookies that were missing that caused you to monitor. But let's just say they do have a story. Let's just say they are not the ones who have been taking the cookies. Maybe at that moment, they were putting the cookies back that they found. Listen to the story. Don't just go in and blast them because they're caught based on what you see red-handed. Now, of course, it's going to be hard. I was watching, what was it? Scarface. I don't like to call names. But they were talking about their money thing that they were doing. And one of the attorneys said to him, it's going to be hard to convince a judge that you found that money in the back of a cab. Well, that's another extremely exaggerated example. But we have to be okay to listen, especially if someone wants to talk. And that's all I want to bring awareness to. Let's be open to at least listen. Of course, once you've had enough and you've had enough, then go on about your business and do your thing. But be open to listening, to hearing, and to be okay with what you discover after you've looked at everything and heard everything that anyone may have to say. Okay. Armonk, thank you for hanging out. I want you to hang out with me. I've got a good one that's going to come up. We're going to talk about, me becoming a grandfather very soon. In just a few more days, I'm looking at the clock. I set a countdown timer, and I've just got, just a few more days to go, and I'm excited about it. But I'm going to take a small break, and I'm going to come back 2 times. I'm going to come back after this promo. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And then I'm going to take another break and play the same promo again so you can hear it again. And then I'm going to speak with my guest. So I'm going to play this promo. Make sure I'm not doing the wrong thing here. And again, thank you for your patience. So I'm going to play this. I'll be right back. Don't move, okay?
Knowing the difference and choosing wisely. It really is okay to be afraid. It's just not necessary. Adversaries are wired to make a lot of noise. It's their greatest weapon, as it invokes instant fear. We're all handpicked by God, but it's our choice to be used by the devil. It is quite natural to be leery of a lower and or higher frequency. Knowledge and or wisdom insists that we either tune in or tune out. Fear is natural and normal. Fear can be our friend or our enemy. Why do we laugh after a joke or a prank that frightens us? Ever notice during that split second of fear that it's not funny at all? It's because fear is a natural reaction. It's not a natural response. Know the difference. It really is okay to be afraid. It's just not always necessary.
And of course, there you have it. I hope you paid attention to that. I created that today. I create stuff all the time. It's just who I am and what I do. I find, I get therapy. Okay, yeah. Whenever I talk. So what happened with this particular, I was responding to something someone was saying, and it just was a part of my response. And I just figured I would add the fullness to it and, write it and then create the audio and the video. So I won't get into it too much, but I am going to play it again. And then I'm going to come back with my guest. Thank you again for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Great things in store for me the next few days. I'm excited, man. Do you know what it's like to become a grand for the first time? Well, that's what I'm dealing with, along with a few other things, but we won't talk too much about that. So anyway, I'm going to play the promo again, and then I'm going to come back with my guest. So hang in there with me, okay? I appreciate it.
Mighty Horn Music. Smooth jazz, top 40, R&B, inspirationals, and more. Live from the Hollywood Home Studio. Like, share, subscribe. And thanks for tuning in.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of The Swimming Pool. Travis Bridges is my name, but of course you know that already. I have a caller standing by, and before I go to my caller, I just want to talk to you about SWIM, S-W-Y-M. That is the acronym for Say What You Mean. It's important that we say what we mean. And clearly, based on the topic of my next interview, saying what you mean has, I guess, what you would call limits or borders, or I don't know, I've got to come up with the word, but it's going to kind of sort of be about me. I'm kind of spilling the beans a little bit, but we're going to talk about when you've said all you can say and you can't say no more. If you are a Popeye and Pal a fan, that's what he used to say back in the day. I've had all I could and I can't take it no more. So I'm going to name the title later, but I'm going to get my caller on and we're going to have a conversation about limits and borders. So with that being said, by chance, if you'd like to chat with me, I'd love to chat with you. Travis Bridges and the number 2 at AOL.com is how you can send me a message. I'd love to get involved with any of your topics or conversations.
Hello.
Hey there, how are you, ma'am?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Not bad at all. We're not going to start the clock right away. I need a minute or two to break the ice before we get on our time, but I promise you I'm going to do as I said. As you know, I do not only say what I mean, I do what I say. So, how's your day been?
It's been pretty good. It's been productive.
Okay. Now, you don't know what the topic is going to be, but do you remember the hint? You asked me for a hint, and what did you do about the hint? Do you remember what the hint was?
Yes, you gave me one word, which was the word nice.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you remember. Nice.
I remember nice, and of course my brain went totally in different directions with that word, but yes, I remember the word nice.
Okay. Tell me one of the directions or the main direction your mind went with that word. I just want to know. We're breaking the ice, remember.
Okay, well, for me, I guess one of the directions it went was, what is nice? Nice is a behavior, is a trait that people enact and show to others. A synonym of nice is kindness, right? Being kind to others. So I then started to kind of, do a little bit of digging on the word nice and what that means to society, and, even when as far as looking at what kindness means in our beliefs with God. So, yeah, I'm not going to go too far in that, but I went in many different directions there.
Okay. All right. So I guess you're wondering what I'm going to talk about.
You got me on edge here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you.
All right.
Being nice. You know that saying that goes like this: nice guys finish last. Have you ever heard of that?
I had something similar. I wouldn't be able to say it verbatim, but I've heard similar phrases.
What do you think of that phrase, that statement? What does that mean to you?
Well, if I was going to channel this in a direction where, if we're talking about guys, I would assume that it will also involve females. I think about females and the term of meeting guys, for that matter, and how some can, what they categorize as bad boys versus nice guys, and and in the term in which you use it, from me, at least in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I will look at it, they will finish last, because for the most part, I think there is a sense for females to always gravitate to the bad boys.
That's it?
That's what I have so far.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Well, I'm going to talk about me. That is something I hardly ever do on my live streams. I know it's hard to believe, particularly when you look at social media, when you see things that people post. First thing we think about is, man, what are they going through? Or who did something to them? And some of my live streams, when I have a topic, I'm going to say greater than 91%, doesn't necessarily apply to me directly, in some way, maybe indirectly. But this one may be a little bit more. And I'm kind of going to share it with you just for your feedback. And I'm going to say we're going to start the clock in 2 minutes. Okay. Just so I know, I need 2 minutes to start the clock, because that's where I'm going to shut off at that mark. I've got like a pie brain. I've got to divide it in a pie. So if I start it's 8 minutes now. Well, anyway, just trust me. The clock officially starts in 2 minutes. But back to my point as it relates to being nice and nice guys finishing last. I'm going to talk about, my situation. I think from the time as far back as I can remember, even as a kid, I've never been the kid to like to fight or to get in trouble. As a matter of fact, as big as I am, most of the guys that bullied me, I knew I could whoop their butts. I knew that. But I was just, controversy is something that I wanted to avoid. So loud noises or, scenes is something that I've always backed away from. So if someone was, saying something about me or saying, that's something that, you couldn't get on my nerves by saying something or talking about my mama, because, it didn't bother me. And besides, I wasn't going to create a scene. So I kind of sort of wanted to develop this nice guy role. And all of my life, I've been concerned about my image or my character, and I've always wanted to be, a good guy. That's part of the reason why, when I think about some of these stereotypes of people from my background, I worked really hard to not be multiple people's baby daddies. I made it a point to not get hooked on drugs or alcohol. I definitely need to watch my diet. That's another live stream. There were things that I stayed away from to make sure that, for one, I didn't embarrass my mother, my family, my neighborhood, or my ethnicity because of what was already, kind of sort of stereotyped about us and myself. So even as a little kid, that stayed in the back of my mind, and into adulthood, I found myself being this guy, trying to keep peace, definitely not being a little chump, standing up for myself, but trying to avoid conflict and confrontation. It's just been, who I've been. And now that I look over my life with everything that I've been through my entire life, especially within the last maybe few years, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired of trying to be the guy to bring peace. And I think it was T.D. Jakes. I usually don't call names, but I'm going to go ahead and give him some right now. A sermon that I was listening to, he talked about men in particular. When they get old, sometimes they become grumpy because they've suppressed themselves and their feelings and their emotions all their lives. And by the time they get old to where they can't talk anymore, you find them being grumpy and kind of sort of mean, and then they just say whatever it is they're thinking. The last thing I want to do is grow into being that guy, but I'm finding myself kind of just tired of being nice, turning the other cheek, saving face, so to speak. And I don't want to do it anymore. I've been kind of hinting around to it in some of my live streams. As I was saying, it was kind of indirectly, related to me, some of my topics. But I'm at that place of where what someone thinks of me or how they may feel or what I may look like based on expressing myself, I'm just kind of tired of it. And I can still be considerate, nice, respectful, but not necessarily care too much about how I'm viewed. I've protected my image for so long, and I feel like it has done me no good. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want to do it anymore. So with that, of course, I've had a few days and nights of sleeplessness and thinking about it. People say, well, that's how you always been. Now you just, it'll take this, that, or the other to bring it out of you. I'm not sure if that's the case, because you can be a certain way for so long and you just get to the place where it's like, okay, I'm just going to take a different route as it relates to myself, how I'm going to move forward. By the way, I'm going to be a grandpa, and this is going to be my last live stream as a non-grandpa. So the next time I come on to my audience, I will be I like to associate my gray hairs with, grandfatherness or, my age, so to speak. But I'm going into that place of where, being a father, being whatever is one thing. But now I'm about to be somebody's grandpa. And grandpa can't have complexes from childhood. So before my little granddaughter comes into the world, I'm thinking of taking a big old pair of scissors and just cutting some more things. I've been trimming some fat back along the way, but I'm just at that place of where it's like, maybe it's okay to really and truly be who I am, especially as it relates to expressing myself, as opposed to trying to hold back thinking that I'm going to offend someone or, my ethnicity. So there you go. You're the counselor now, so put your cigarette out and talk to me.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations on becoming a grandfather. I think that's a wonderful blessing, and you
Thank
know,
you. Go ahead.
and I'm thinking even from that perspective in which you brought up a couple of interesting points here, and it's funny because I feel like as we grow up as kids, right from when we're very young, we sort of taught what our parents or grandparents know, and they just teach us whatever they know, and that gets passed on from one generation to the other. And so habitually we enact in a way where we incorporate these teachings into our own lives. And one of the things, I was having a conversation with a friend the other day about how men and people tend to communicate, like females, couples in relationships in general, and how there's many relationships that actually go down the drain today because there's lack of communication. And I said, and one of the biggest stigmas around men is that they're not the best communicators. And I think there's not necessarily true all the way around, but I think that there is some value to what's being said there, because they say women overtalk, men don't talk very much. Why is that though, right? And I have to kind of think to myself, having raised up 3 boys myself, I didn't necessarily do this, but I've seen it where, as males, you're taught to kind of suppress your feelings, not to express emotion and cry, not to really verbalize necessarily what's happening and what's going on. Right. So you transcend that into someone who's growing into a teenager and even a young man. You tend to communicate less, and so you get lost in that. And so you end up becoming this person that you may not necessarily be or can't even express to be who you really are. Right. So just I wanted to touch on that point, because you talked about T.D. Jakes touching on men becoming old and grumpy and being suppressive and emotionally abrupt. And it's probably because they get to the point in life where I'm done with suppressing who I really am. I want to express whether I'm happy or not happy. I don't care who likes it and who doesn't like it. I want to get my point across. And it leads me back to your feeling of, I'm tired of being Mr. Nice Guy, because I feel like it doesn't really get me anywhere, right?
That's absolutely true. In regards to the niceness, suppressing, I don't think I have a problem expressing myself, because one thing I will do is talk, and I don't have a problem expressing myself fully. However, going out of my way to be sometimes considerate, and being sometimes just flat out too nice. There's a couple of situations that are right on the tip of my tongue where I know I've done a little more than I probably should have, and I saw where it got me absolutely nothing or nowhere. Not that I do anything for expecting something, but if you do something, you don't expect to get, a pie in your face either. So it's like, I'm at that place of where, I know deep down, where it counts here. And if I can, use God for just a quick moment, God knows my intentions in my heart when I've, tried to be nice and considerate, towards, people in business and even in my personal life. And, getting that pie in your face is like, I think I've had enough of that. And sometimes when you are selfish or selfless, I can't even remember which is which now. When you don't, consider other people, it doesn't mean you have to disrespect people or be inconsiderate. But when you think of yourself first, that's been hard for me to do. And I think that time has run out for me. I don't think it's going to be hard for me to say, I ain't doing nothing. Or, I'm just not. I'm not going to put myself in that position for me to get, the pie in my face. So, yeah, I think that's just where I am. So I don't know if I cut you off or if I responded too soon.
No, thank you. I can appreciate that. And hopefully your audience is listening and can partake here. Maybe, I don't know, they have the capability to respond and chat in response to some of this. But, I'm just thinking in general, the type of society that we live in today, sometimes the connotation on people who demonstrate kindness, as being looked at as probably a form of weakness or even a sign of submission or being naive. And then on the other hand, from another note, be interested to know from your audience too what their thoughts are on that. But on another note, it can also be looked at as a sign of courage and strength, because it takes strength to keep being kind, even in the world that doesn't really accept it. And I think it's because as a society, we've become desensitized because we're so disconnected. We're no longer a society of connection. And you think about, oh yeah, okay, I'll text you, or we'll see if we connect offline, or whatever the case may be. But less people are calling each other, less people are checking up on each other, less people are connecting one another. And when we even think about the Word of God, in the Old Testament, the book of Proverbs, it talks about, kindness in a sense where you're fulfilling a need for someone that might be in need. And then in the New Testament, it talks about kindness as being a virtue, a fruit, of kindness, right? So you're bearing seed there. And I want you to think about that a little bit more, Travis, because you're about to be a grandfather, right? And you think about how you want your granddaughter to grow up, what kind of traits you want her to grow up in, and what's going to be rewarded for her too. We don't get rewarded for being mean, but we do get rewarded for being kind.
Well,
right?
We do get a reward. It's in the form of a consequences. And, I'm kind of looking at myself. I look in the monitor, I look in my camera, and then I look in the monitor. I have a couple of different monitors around. And, I can hear my mama in my head saying, straighten up your face. Because I know that when I came on, it's like, I was not trying to even really pay any attention to, my disposition or my facial expressions. And then I kind of looked in the monitor a second, and I saw my face, as my mother would say, my face was all torn up. And, it's because, this has been on my mind, and it's still kind of sort of, on my mind. But, I guess I can smile because I'm talking about it. But, inside, I'm a little perturbed, and I don't want to hide it anymore. I don't want to be a jerk, but I'm just, I see where going out of the way has been a little more than I've gotten back from it. So anyway, right. Yeah, you're right. My granddaughter, I really want her to say that again.
No, I go ahead, finish up.
No, I was saying I do want, as my new granddaughter comes into the world, I want her to, remember her grandfather as being, someone who, instills something good in her. And I think maybe, I don't know, that's something to think about. I'm going to have the opportunity to have an impression on a new life as she gets to grow up. And I can, maybe this live stream will be here for years, long after I'm gone. And she'll get to hear her grandfather, talk about her even before she is, introduced to the world. I just kind of want to be, the grandfather that she, admires and respects, and that I can, impart some of, some things into her that I've experienced. And I kind of look forward to that, because, wow, I'm starting to feel it already. People say, well, when's your grandfather? Your grandkids are special. I've got grandkids, but not any biological ones. I've got tons of nieces and nephews and, step grandkids and step kids, but this is going to be, biologically my first, granddaughter. And, I don't know, I'm just starting to feel like, the impression that I could have on her through my wisdom and my experiences, I'm just hoping that, I'm able to impart that, within her, and she'll be able to use some of it. And maybe that's where it'll all pay off, because, as I look into, the mirror today, sometimes I feel like, gosh, what's it all for? That's a song from Prince. But anyway, I'll let you finish, because I did take over just now. So go ahead, please.
No, this is great. And I'm glad that you're envisioning the blessing of having a granddaughter as an opportunity to bestow upon her who you really are, and the many gifts that God has given you already, that you can, partake with her as she begins to grow older, and be that example to her, and listen to that word, being an example to her. Because I think part of some of the things that I might have picked up here is that, and it happens to many of us, is, Travis, and that's that when you when you give with expectation, it often leads to disappointment. And the giving of kindness is exactly that. When you give to others, there should be no sense of expectation. The gratification.
I'm sorry. I want to say something, and I try to
Okay.
clear that. And excuse me for, and thank you for allowing me to interject here. You know, my giving is not necessarily with expectation. However, I guess the shock comes. It's like, okay, what I don't expect as opposed to what I expect. I don't expect for me to pull someone out of a hole and then they throw me in it. You know, that's what I'm saying, and I don't know if that's the same in reverse or having an expectation. And if it is, by all means, you know, correct me. But I don't think I'm looking for something back, you know, as I give, especially in the niceness and kindness department. But I'm not expecting somebody to dog me, you know, if I'm being nice to them. I saw this is funny to me. I'm going to go off record for a moment, not off record, but off topic. I saw this meme, or it was one of the things on social media, where these alligators were in the water and there was a branch hanging over the alligators, and there were two monkeys on the branch, and one monkey was on the lower end of the branch and the other monkey was on the branch, and the monkey was shaking it, you know, trying to knock the other monkey off into the river. And the meme said something about, you know, you don't need friends like that. They were both trying to escape from the alligators or the crocodiles, whichever it was. But this one monkey was shaking and this other monkey was almost fell into the water. And, you know, that's what I was envisioning when I was saying, you know, when you do something for someone or you do something in general and then you get kicked for it, you know, it's that kind of thing. But anyway, enough of my ranting.
I have to hear, Travis, then is it the distinction of, you know, who you have as friends and people around you that you may be helping out that don't appreciate, and the distinction of actually enacting in kindness to others, whether you're holding a door open or you're saying good day to someone, or it's like, oh, you have a nice smile and you're just making people smile along the day and you're just being contagiously kind to other people. So I just want to make the distinction between maybe having to choose people that you surround yourself, because sometimes we have to make a process of elimination of the people we have in our lives, right? Maybe they're not making.
I'm gonna say amen on that, because you gotta there's the touche. You get 2 points for that, and you know. So you're right. Sometimes changing your company definitely makes a difference.
Yeah. So maybe it's a little bit about that versus actually being nice. That might be more the issue, if you ask me.
Okay. Well, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I hope you have the same experience. And in the effort to try to head towards the door, or as I would say, land the plane, you know, I don't want to come off as saying, okay, you know, I'm going to be somebody that I'm not, or that I'm just at a place of where I'm just frustrated or aggravated and I'm about to go, you know, jump off the edge. Nothing like that at all. I'm just, you know, again, bringing awareness, because I'm not the only one. I'm just crazy enough to sit here and, you know, open my guts and share it with my audience and maybe, you know, the world, that, you know, even some of the nicest people kind of sort of get tired of being nice, especially when, you know, someone kind of, you know, for lack of a better word, you get the pie in your face, you know, after you've extended yourself. Not that you're looking for something back, but you're definitely not looking for someone to flat out, you know, dog you. So if I had a word even in my moment for anyone else, and maybe even to myself, I don't want to change who I am, because that's not going to be comfortable. But, you know, making the adjustment, you know, to, I don't know, I don't want to say not expect people to be kind, you know, because why not? Why would I just walk around expecting everybody to do something negative or bad? I don't want to live that life either. I guess the overall message would be, you know, and if I was advising someone, including myself, you know, take a deep breath, count to 10, 20, or 30, whatever it takes. You know, be okay with what is, and learn from whatever experiences you have. They don't have to be mistakes or even problems. But the key thing here on my way out is that to learn from each experience as I continue to move on. Because you're right, I'm going to be a grandfather. I'm excited about that. And I don't want to be a, frustrated, aggravated, or even depressed grandfather. When my granddaughter comes, I really want to be in that place of, being the grandfather that she's going to know, from the inside. I don't care what someone says about me or thinks about me. She's going to really have, the grandfather that's going to be open and transparent and loving. And I have no doubt I'm going to be a great grandfather. And I know my son and his wife, my daughter, they're probably going to see this at some point in time. She's definitely going to be spoiled from me, but in a good way. And I'm looking forward to that. So again, in my third closing, I'm not going to not be who I am, because my mother raised me to be a good person. And I guess it's normal to get aggravated when you see people acting crazy. It doesn't always feel good, when you have to. And then on this last note, I called one of my sisters who's a minister, and I talked to her about something. I'm going to get out of here in a few minutes, but I want to share this before I go. I talked to her. I asked her, I said, if Jesus knew that he was going to be betrayed, why did he do that? Why did he hang around with those cats, his disciples, if he knew that they were busted and, the ones in particular that were going to, to bring shame to him or betray him? Why did he do that? And even as she was responding, that voice came in my head that said, the devil is good for business. Sometimes, things have to happen in order for purpose to be fulfilled. So on that note, I'm going to try to go on, even with what I'm experiencing right now. It's probably for a better cause, considering that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And that's just how I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let you light up another cigarette, and then I'm going to close out in saying that, not that you smoke, I'm just being funny. That's going to be my advice to myself. Just know that, it's okay. Don't stop being who I am, or if you're watching or listening to me, don't stop being who you are. And it's okay that people, don't always show you what you either expect, or, you see something that you didn't see coming. It's okay. It's all working out for your good and for the good in general. So I'm going to let you have the last word on it, and then I'm going to let you go, because we're going to be right on time when you finish. So go.
Whew. I love your summary, Travis, and I 100% agree. And I think you left it at a wonderful note here. And I have no doubt in my mind that your granddaughter is going to love you to pieces, and you'll be like her favorite, granddad. Not speaking to the mom side or anything like that, but she's going to be absolutely in love with you. And many good wishes on that end. And I think you said a very important thing here is never stop being who you are, and don't let anyone change that. And with that, I'll close and say thank you so much for having me, Travis. Hope to see you again.
Absolutely. You got it. Thank you so much. We'll chat soon.
All righty.
Okay, do me a favor before you go.
Sure.
Find somebody you need to say I love you to, and don't just say it, but show it, okay?
Will do.
Thank you. Take care. Good night.
Right.
Well, there you have it, my friends. Thank you again for hanging out with me for another edition of The Swimming Pool. SWIM, SWYM. That is the acronym for Say What You Mean. I've already closed, but I'm going to say one last time. Regardless of what we're experiencing, what we're going through the storm, through the rain, through the wind, through the hurricanes, I used to hear the saints say, you have to cry sometimes. Crying is healthy. It's okay. Just know inside, and this is to you as well as to me, things are working out for your good, even if you don't feel it or you don't see it. You have to believe that if you mean well, good is going to come back to you. So, till the next time, take good care of yourself. Find somebody you need to say, I love you to. Don't just say it, but show it. The next time you see me, I expect to be a happy, excited, and proud grandfather. Till then, take care. I love you. Good night.
Knowing the difference and choosing wisely. It really is okay to be afraid. It's just not necessary. Adversaries are wired to make a lot of noise. It's their greatest weapon, as it invokes instant fear. We're all hand-picked by God, but it's our choice to be used by the devil. It is quite natural to be leery of a lower and or higher frequency. Knowledge and or wisdom insists that we either tune in or tune out. Fear is natural and normal. Fear can be our friend or our enemy. Why do we laugh after a joke or a prank that frightens us? Ever notice during that split second of fear that it's not funny at all? It's because fear is a natural reaction. It's not a natural response. Know the difference. It really is okay to be afraid. It's just not always necessary. SWYM. Say what you mean. As much as this information is designed to bring awareness to how we listen, hear, and process, it is also a form of therapy. The little person inside of all of us needs to be heard. As adults, even listening to ourselves is a form of healing, strengthening, and growth. It's okay to speak, talk, express yourself, and be heard, even if you're the only listener. If our testimony does anything at all for anyone else, that makes the continued effort worth the time. Get the words out. You'll feel better, and that's a promise. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
You know, sometimes it seems like all the good times are gone. But you got to keep on searching. You got to keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. For example, take me standing right here today. I would not be here with you if I believed the things that the people say. You got to keep on searching. Keep on searching. Keep it on the cool side. Keep it on the cool side. Keep on looking around.
Good night, everybody. If you can still hear me. Have a great rest of the week and weekend.